Hello, grade 8 students. In this video, we're going to talk about our new lesson, the specific immune response. In the last video, we described about the non-specific immune response, which includes the phagocytosis. Here, in this video, we're going to determine the cases of the activation of T lymphocytes when T lymphocytes are activated and the steps of the activation of T lymphocytes. We're going to identify the cell-mediated immune response and the humoral. What is the meaning of these two responses, cell-mediated and the humoral? And we will determine the cases of the activation of B specific immune response. If the first line of defense was the natural barrier, if it was crossed, we move to the second line of defense, which is the non-specific immune response. So what will happen if the first and the second line of defense fail to do the job and to eliminate the non-self? What will happen? We will have the third line of defense, which is the specific immune response. Let's talk here about the cases of activation of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, they are killer cells. They kill using their TCR, T cell receptors. So they use their TCR, T cell receptor, to kill other cells. T lymphocytes, they are activated when? In the case of the viral infection, whenever we have a viral infection, or in the case of we have graft rejection. In the case we graft rejected, like for example allograft or xenograft, the graft is rejected, so T lymphocytes are activated. And in the case of viral infection, allograft, for example. So steps of the activation of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, first, they approach the target cell or the infected cell. Second, they adhere to it. They bind to the infected cell using their T cell receptors that we said they are called TCR. Then the T lymphocyte give the target cell a killer kiss. It kiss the target cell. It perforates. What the meaning of perforate? Perforate means that create a hole, create a pore inside the cell. As such, the cell will lose its content and finally it will die. So the first step, the T lymphocyte approaches the target or the infected cell, gets in direct contact with it using its TCR, and then it give it a killer kiss. This kiss will perforate the cell, create a hole in it, and releasing its content, and finally it will die. These are the steps of the activation. This is the first step. The T lymphocyte, the specific T lymphocyte, they approach to the target cell or to the infected cell. Then they got in direct contact, they adhere it using their TCR, T cell receptor. And the third stage, the T lymphocyte give the infected cell a killer kiss. This kiss will create a holes inside the cell and will lead finally to the death of the infected cell. Type of immune response carried out by T lymphocyte. From now on, the immune response carried by T lymphocyte, it's a specific immune response, while the name of the immune response carried out by the T lymphocytes is called specific cell-mediated immune response. So the immune response always carried by T lymphocyte, it's specific. It depends on the identity of the intruder, while its name is cell-mediated. So we can mix them together. So the immune response is specific cell-mediated immune response. So as a conclusion, the T lymphocytes, they carry out specific cell-mediated immune response, where the T lymphocytes, they kill the cells in both cases. So T lymphocytes, they carry specific cell-mediated immune response. cases of activation of B lymphocytes. These include the case of blood transfusion. So talking about blood transfusion, let's say B lymphocytes, they are activated whenever we have blood transfusion. For example, blood transfusion is like blood donation. Blood group A person, blood group A, wanna donate a blood to another individual having blood group B. Okay, so the donor blood group A has antigen A, while the recipient here, blood group B, it has antibody A. So these two, they will fight together and will make agglutination. Agglutination, since we have secretion of antibodies. So secretion of antibodies is a property of the B lymphocytes, which will have a name. We will identify it about the name of the immune response in the coming slides. So the first case is the case of blood transfusion. This is the second case of the activation of B lymphocyte, case of bacterial infection. Whenever we have infection by bacteria, so this is the case of activation. So here we have two cases for the activation of B lymphocytes, case of blood transfusion, blood donation, and the case of bacterial infection. This is a green antibody battles a red antigen. So this is a war between a green antibody and the red antigen, which is a non-self antigen. So here, the type of the immune response carried out by B lymphocytes is also called specific immune response. If you notice here, it has the same name as that carried out by T lymphocytes. While the name of the immune response, what is the name of the immune response carried out by B lymphocyte? So it's called humoral immune response. So it's specific immune response, the type and the name, it's humoral immune response. Or we can conclude that B lymphocytes, they carry out specific humoral immune response, where the B lymphocyte, they secrete antibodies against the non-self. So B lymphocytes, specific humoral immune response, and there is secretion of antibodies. So whenever we have secretion of antibodies, so this type of immune response is specific humoral immune response. Whereas the T lymphocyte, they carry out specific cell-mediated immune response, where the T cells, they kill other cells which are the infected cells. Thank you.